I would like to begin my message by reading from the letters of Eulogy, who was the 8th abbot of our tradition and lived in Japan over 500 years ago. This letter that he wrote to console a friend who had lost a child has become a tradition to be read at funeral services ever since. The translation goes like this. In silently contemplating the transient nature of human existence, nothing is more fragile and fleeting in this world than the life of a human being. Thus we have not heard of human life lasting for 1,000 years. Life swiftly passes, and who among us can maintain his form for even 100 years? Whether I go before others or whether others go before me, whether it be today or whether it be tomorrow, who is to know? Those who depart before us are as countless as the drops of dew. Though in the morning we may have radiant health, in the evening we may return to white ashes. When the winds of impermanence blow, our eyes are closed forever, and when the last breath leaves us, our face loses its color. Those who depart before us are as countless as the drops of dew. The body is then sent into an open field and vanishes from this world with the smoke of cremation, leaving only the white ashes. Nothing is more real than this truth of life. The fragile nature of human existence underlies both the young and old, and therefore we must all turn to the teachings of the Buddha and awaken to the ultimate essence of life. By so understanding the meaning of death, we come to appreciate the meaning of this life, which is to be treasured because it is unrepeatable. By virtue of true compassion, let us live together with gratitude in our hearts. With reverence, I remain. I've had the opportunity to know the members of the Omori family for many years. I knew his older brother Henry, who passed away many years ago in the year 2000, and also his parents and his older brother Edward as well. It is so sad that he lost his life and passed away at the age when he could really enjoy his retirement and continue not only to be the wonderful partner and father to Diane and Cameron and all of the rest of his family and relatives. The other thing, though, was, as you all know, that he had this online presence and friendship with so many people. They all loved and respected him. Some of the wonderful things said about Hiroshi was that everyone loved him, and he had a special quiet generosity. He gave so much effortlessly without ever expecting anything back. He was the glue for our community, and through his posts and comments, you could tell what a wonderful, thoughtful, positive, caring, compassionate, giving, supportive, inclusive person he was. I've had the opportunity to know his entire family and his friends, his parents, his brothers Henry and Edward. They all share the same kind of qualities that Hiroshi had. Perhaps the most important lesson that he shares with us today is the same lesson that we learned from the passage on white ashes that I read earlier, written by Eulogy. The lesson of impermanence that reminds us that there are no guarantees as to how long we can maintain our youth, our health, our lives, and encourages us to treasure each day that we have to enjoy. The few years we've had to live in the midst of the pandemic already served as a reminder of that lesson. But whether it was in person or online, Hiroshi shared his wonderful life with all of us. The gathering we have come together for is referred to as the 49th Day Memorial Service. It is 7 weeks since Hiroshi passed away. It is the time in which the person that we honor has become a Buddha. In the story of the historical Buddha, it is said that through his meditation and his training, he became enlightened, awakened. Although he learned the teachings well, he wasn't certain as to how to share those teachings with others. So it's said that he goes into meditation again, sitting under one tree for 7 days, and he continues this for 7 weeks. And at the end of the 49th day, he comes to the understanding of how to share those teachings with others. He becomes the Buddha, the teacher to all of his students and to all students during the long history of our tradition. So the 49 days that we observed after Hiroshi's passing is the period in which he becomes our Buddha, our teacher, our guide for the rest of our lives. At the beginning of today's gathering, this celebration of life, there was the ceremony to present Hiroshi with a homyo, a Dharma name. It symbolizes the formal welcoming into the Buddhist family. The name that I chose for him is Shaku Gugan. The first part, Shaku, is like a last name coming from the title of the historical Buddha, Shakyamuni. Gugan would be his personal name, and it's made up of two characters, Gu, which means broad. It refers to how we discover the way to share his life so broadly, way more than most of us can. The second character, Gan, means wish. It refers to the wishes that he received from his parents to become the person that he was, but also it refers to the wishes that he has left behind to become the first and foremost for Diane and Cameron, but for all of his family, his relatives, and for all of us who were able to share at least a bit of his life. I think you would all agree that he lived up to those wishes and expectations in grand style. Hiroshi, I believe, lived that life. He shared his life in such meaningful ways with his family and friends. He was always kind, always willing to help whenever he was needed. And he did this with such humility. With his life, he fulfilled the wishes given to him, and in return, leaves behind the same wishes to his family and his many friends. When I think about his life, I'm reminded of a great Buddhist who lived in the 20th century, a poet by the name of Kenji Miyazawa. Although he himself was not of humble beginnings, he empathized with the farmers in the northern regions struggling to survive. His signature poem, called Ame ni mo makezu, Not Defeated by the Rain, is said to have been written to encourage himself to do more. In many ways, the poem reminds me of the life that Hiroshi Omori lived. In translation, it goes like this. Not defeated by the rain, not by the wind, the snow, nor the summer heat, with a strong body, but with no desires, never angry, always with a quiet, joyful laughter, a cup of brown rice with miso and some vegetables, ridding oneself of self-centered ways, listening, watching, understanding, and remembering. Living in a small grass-thatched hut in the shade of a pine forest. If a child should fall sick to the east, I will go and take care of him. If there should be a mother exhausted by her chores to the west, I will go and carry the bundles of rice stalks for her. If there be a person about to die to the south, I will go and tell him not to be afraid. If two people should be fighting to the north, I will go and tell them to stop, for it does no good. In times of drought, shedding tears and empathy, dithering about helplessly on cold summer days, a useless fool in the eyes of everyone, not accepting praise, not attracting attention. That is the person I wish to become. That, I believe, is the life that Hiroshi lived. He leaves behind for us a wonderful example of how to live a good life, a life that was so fulfilling. I'm sure also that he would have wanted to share many more years of life with all of you. As mentioned earlier, Hiroshi Omori has become a Buddha, a Hotoke-sama. What that really means is if we can continue to remember him, he will be there as our teacher, our guide, reminding us of what it means to be a true friend, reminding us of how to be independent, of how to be happy, to live a life with no regrets. On behalf of the Higashi Honganji Buddhist Temple, to Diane, to Cameron, to his uncle Keiichi, his nephews and nieces and their families, to the entire family of the late Mr. Hiroshi Omori, and to all of you gathered here today, I offer our deepest sympathy and friendship. Namo. So with this, we will conclude the 49th Day Memorial Service for the late Mr. Hiroshi Omori. As you know, following this, we will have celebration of his life.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chuck, and Diane and I have the pleasure of working together. She asked me if I'd be here today to sort of introduce a few people, so that's what we'll do. First of all, though, we owe you a great honor, Bishop, and we thank you on behalf of the Omori family for being. So it's a pleasure, first of all, to bring up Steve Omori, who is Hiroshi's nephew. Steve.
Well, try not to cry. So, Hiroshi was more than just an uncle. He was my best friend, one of them. It's interesting to think that even now, I still think to text him, still think to send him an Instagram post. Or, you know, there's so many things that often I think of him. And one of my early memories of Hiroshi was him teaching me to ride a bike. So it's in West Covina, where I used to live, and it just translates at how much he used to love riding bikes. And it's no surprise, but you know, when I think of all the things that he's helped me, how much he's ingrained in my day-to-day, you know, it just really hurts to think that he's gone so soon. But, you know, I want to make it a little lighter. I'll share a couple stories about some things that he's done that made me laugh, that still make me laugh today. We were on vacation. Well, actually, we went to Hawaii for my cousin Lisa's wedding. And, you know, we decided to do a couple of trips while we were there. We went to Mokalili, I think is how it's pronounced, island. And it's about 500 yards to go to the peak of this island. And we decided, oh, let's go for a ride, or a swim. And we, you know, all jumped on and grabbed our scuba gear and decided to go. It's a far distance. It sounds farther, or it looks farther than it actually sounds, but we all decided to go in a little group. And as we're swimming, everyone would check to make sure that everybody's around. Hiroshi's missing, right? So we start to panic, like, where is he? And it felt like 5 minutes as we're looking around for him. Everyone's calling for him. And finally we see him about 50 yards out, and he pops his head up, kind of waves at us, and you know, I just laugh. I was practicing my torpedo swim move. So I don't know what, you know, just he would always find some sort of light in a very serious, you know, situation. We were all scared, but he's doing this torpedo technique. So, anyway, you know, every day as I go out to my garden and I look at the tomatoes and so on, you know, Hiroshi used to text me and, oh, okay, well, you know, I'm doing this with those tomatoes, or there's just so many different avenues of our life that he touched. And I'm going to miss him.
Thank you, Steve. At this time, we'd like to hear from Hiroshi's niece, Dawn Omori.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming out in this heat to celebrate the life of my Uncle Hiroshi. I am one of his nieces. My dad, Henry, was one of Uncle Hiroshi's older brothers. Sorry, I'm just reading here. But some of the happiest memories I have of Uncle Hiroshi are the many holidays we spent together, especially Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve. You could always count on my dad and Uncle Hiroshi to fall asleep on the couch with their mouths open after eating, every time. And it was so nice because every time we would visit, Uncle Hiroshi would probably show us his latest project or any new fixes he made around the house. We affectionately called him Hiroshi Stewart because, like Martha Stewart, make or fix just about anything. After my dad passed away in 2000, Uncle Hiroshi was always willing and able to help my mom around her house. He fixed her toilet. Most recently, he built a really impressive fence around her garden beds that helped keep the birds off of her tomato plants. Most recently, Uncle Hiroshi installed a dishwasher in my new home, and I think he surprised himself when weeks later I told him it was running fine without any leaks.